Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nightly Scroll. I'm Hayley Caronia. I love seeing you all in the chat. Everyone's saying good evening. I see you. I didn't have time to get in the chat today. I'm sorry. Usually I like to drop in and just say, hey, how are you doing? Ready to scroll? I didn't even have time to go over to X and post the show link. I didn't go over to True Social tonight. Sometimes we come in here and we just start yapping. And then, sometimes, as you know, we started the show on time tonight, but sometimes we're a minute or two late. We just get so excited. And we're going through all the elements of the show. And we already started talking about the element of scrolling time. So the producers, producer Andy, producer Mikey, we're going to get in the chat. We're going to have you all be included in the conversation. So get ready for scrolling time. It is going to be fun tonight. I think, a fun conversation. So I'm excited. But in the meantime, if you want to scroll with my homies in the chat, you've got to go over to Rumble. Rumble is the only place that you can watch the show. It is a Rumble exclusive video experience. So if you want to watch, go to the Bongino Report channel. Rumble.com/Hayley is where you can find it. If you want to listen at your own leisure on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just search Nightly Scroll with Hayley. Leave a nice review, say something nice, leave 5 stars, and definitely ring the bell so that you never miss a show. Now, what do I have on deck for you tonight? Well, CNN host Jake Tapper is a shameless lying grifter for peddling a book in which he claims to know all about Biden's failing health, but he didn't say a damn thing about it at the time. He pushed the White House lies, and now he gets to Monday Morning Quarterback, one of the most wild political bait and switches in history. I'm calling him out. Then President Trump is calling on the Supreme Court to allow him to use the Alien Enemies Act to deport more unruly illegal aliens being detained in Texas. Of course, the media paints them as victims. We'll get into that. Plus, major breakthroughs in public health will have you trusting our medical institutions once again. Maybe. It's a start. And I've got crazy liberals on deck for you in scrolling time. They're actually not crying today for once. So, yeah. But we've got everything on deck for you tonight. Very excited. Let's start the show. All right, we've talked about this before. CNN anchor Jake Tapper, he has co-authored this book with Axios correspondent Alex Thompson. It is called Original Sin: President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and his disastrous choice to run again. And it is set to be released next week. So he's doing the media rounds to talk about it, promote the book. And so Jake Tapper, he was part of this disastrous debate performance with Joe Biden where he totally, whatted the bed, and everyone decided, okay, we've got to do away with Biden. We've got to put Harris in. We've got to do the bait and switch. So I guess that's the reason why Jake Tapper is added to this co-author. I mean, according to Fox News, I was reading an article earlier today. According to them, and I've never heard of Axios correspondent Alex Thompson in my life, so I've never heard anything about him. I'm sure you all listening don't know who this person is. And apparently, he was kind of sounding the alarm the entire time, or earlier than most liberals would like to admit, that Biden was in mental decline. So apparently he was one of the people at the forefront of this, along with, most of the right-wing media was already in on this. But apparently Alex Thompson was sounding the alarm. And if he was doing such a good job to sound the alarm about this, did he not know that Jake Tapper was running his mouth and basically doing the bidding of the Biden presidency and the administration, just absolutely lying for them? Seems like an odd choice to have Jake Tapper come on and write this book with him. Maybe he just needed the name notoriety of Jake Tapper and the CNN backing, knowing that CNN would push the book out when it came time to have the release of the book. I don't know. It seemed like a really strange choice because Jake Tapper was doing a bunch of lying. So here are some more shocking details coming out of the book that now have contributed to this, this mainstream media recollection. Now they're all in on it that Biden was completely failing. Okay. So they said that George Clooney was at some Democratic fundraiser in Los Angeles. This was during the 2024 campaign. Joe Biden was there, did not recognize George Clooney at all. So apparently this in the book is one of these moments where people started thinking, okay, maybe something's going on here mentally. He didn't know who George Clooney was, which if you think about it, it kind of is making more sense now why George Clooney penned that op-ed urging the DNC to basically not run Biden, because that seemed really confusing and kind of random at the time. But, I kind of thought, and other people were saying, that maybe George Clooney was told by someone, maybe Obama or someone else at the DNC, to put that out. And maybe that's still true. But now we have this moment where maybe George Clooney thought, hey, Biden didn't know who I was. Maybe they're friends. I mean, most people know who George Clooney is. But maybe that was the moment for George where he said, it kind of, maybe it just like, it just rubbed him the wrong way that Biden didn't recognize him or didn't remember him. Maybe that's the reason why he wrote that op-ed saying, we've got to choose someone other than Biden. But another crazy update from this book, apparently, and we haven't heard this before, but apparently Biden's aides were so concerned about his physical deterioration that at some point they also discussed Biden using a wheelchair if he won re-election. That would have been the craziest bait and switch ever. Could you imagine if they ran Biden and Biden won, and then all of a sudden, after lying to the American people for 4 years, saying that he was just fine, he was A-okay, then they would put him in a wheelchair? I mean, that's deception at one of the highest levels. And when I say deception, I mean, the American people already knew, for the most part, that Biden was in decline, but to being in a wheelchair and requiring a wheelchair is a different level of decline, because it's not just mental decline, it's physical decline. So they're lying about a lot of things here. But Jake Tapper, among them, is one of the worst, doing the stumping for the Biden administration. He had Laura Trump on his show. This was back in 2020. And Laura Trump said, when Biden stutters, when he stumbles on his words, it makes the American people take a little pause. They're wondering, is this guy mentally fit enough to hold the office of the presidency? Listen to this.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
to
no.
watch somebody on stage
That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
All she said was it's concerning. He stutters. Now here we've got, was this Grok? All right, Grok is in on the he's in on all of this, making I guess Grok is a he. I think Grok is a he. I don't know. That's the Twitter AI. But yeah, this is Joe Biden in a wheelchair. This could have been what we had as president. We don't know. But anyway, Jake Tapper absolutely just running over everything that Laura Trump is saying. She's trying to explain herself, saying, I wasn't trying to make fun of his stutter. I wasn't trying to diagnose him from afar. She's not a doctor. Neither is Jake Tapper. But apparently at this point in time, Jake Tapper knew all along that, Biden was failing, and he didn't seem to say anything. But CNN is defending Jake Tapper anyway. So a CNN spokesperson said he fairly and accurately covered Biden at the time. Jake Tapper is a veteran journalist whose tenacious and thorough reporting has held those in power to account on both sides of the aisle for decades. From the campaign in 2020 to 2024, when he dropped out, Jake raised concerns about President Biden's mental stamina on his shows, questioned Biden officials directly about his health on air, and consistently encouraged open discussion and debate on the issue. But you have to come out now and say that you got it wrong. Because all of that might have been true. You see how they worded that, where he covered it accurately at the time. Okay, so based on the information that he knew then, what he said could have been what he thought was to be the truth. It was not the truth. Now we know that it was not the truth. He's even writing a damn book about it. So you have to come out and say that you got it wrong. He is not doing that. He is doubling down. Now he's pretending that he just figured this out. He's been doing this digging all along. But of course, he's on CNN. They're defending him. And now this is what he's saying on CNN now. Listen to this.
I'm just curious as to whether or not this kind of trying to hide what was happening with the president at the time had an impact on the press corps. Like, why didn't we hear some of these details from what they actually saw and were dealing with trying to get information?
Well, Alex Thompson and I were on the case, as were lots of other reporters, trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, right.
But the bottom line is the White House was lying, not only to the press, not only to the public, but they were lying to members of their own cabinet. They were lying to White House staffers. They were lying to Democratic members of Congress, to donors about how bad things had gotten. And in fact, Alex and I started writing this book after the election of 2024, and we spoke with more than 200 people, most of whom, almost all of whom, were Democrats, and almost all of whom wouldn't be honest with us or wouldn't be candid with us until after the election. And then after the election, we found out all of these things.
Liars.
That when you looked at what was going on with President Biden at the time, it probably doesn't surprise you the extent to which he was deteriorating. But now we have anecdotes and facts about what was really going on behind the scenes with details that Democrats wouldn't share with us until after Election Day.
This is telling for a lot of reasons. First of all, he pretty much admitted that they almost only interviewed Democrats. So basically, he interviewed a bunch of lying retards, and we're supposed to go buy his book? Why would anyone want to read that? You all freaking lied. And now they're only telling the truth because they lost. So now they get to all be on the right side of history and say, oh, well, this is why the Democrats lost, because the Biden White House was lying to us, and now they're throwing the Biden White House under the bus, but they did the stumping for them the entire time. Plus, if they listened to anything Republicans were saying for the last 5 years, Jake Tapper could have cashed in on this book years ago, because we all knew. It's crazy. So they interviewed all these lying Democrats. This should be a great book. Interview all the people who were caught lying to us the entire time. What a joke. He's claiming that they're trying to figure out what was happening, but while he was claiming that they were trying to figure it all out, they were still lying on behalf of the administration. Why not say, hey, we're working to independently confirm if this is true or not. We're working to independently confirm if Biden is mentally fit enough to hold the office of the president.
That's called being a journalist.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's total BS. They call themselves journalists, and they're just doing all this Monday morning quarterbacking. It's like, you were wrong. You were consistently wrong. Now that you knew that you were lying, well, they knew that they were lying the entire time, obviously, but now that they're blaming it on the Biden administration, and by the way, Jake Tapper is right about the Biden administration lying. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But it's crazy that they're saying the quiet part out loud. And not that this comes to any surprise to anyone who voted for Trump, but the majority of the mainstream media is a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. We already knew this, but they admitted it. They basically just take what the White House says as truth. They don't do any further digging. They don't do any of their own journalism. They don't do any of their own research. They're not trying to push anything. They're not trying to to do research and figure out they're not trying to question the White House. They just take what the White House says as truth and they run with it. So now they get to attempt to make themselves look like the good guys. They were working hard to get answers for the American people, and we already knew what was happening the entire time. You didn't need a journalist title. You didn't need a fancy CNN network show to figure it out. If you had eyes and ears, we already knew. So now they get to be so high and mighty after lying for years. Everyone knew that the White House was lying, and the Democrats were either too dumb or too blindsided by identity politics to care. And they pushed the narrative that Biden was A-okay to run the country. It is insulting to the American people's intelligence. And I don't call for boycotts. You know I am anti-cancel culture to my core, but I don't have to tell anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together not to buy this book. I don't know why anyone would read a book that tells you the sky is blue after telling you that the sky is purple for 4 years. But back to my point earlier about Jake Tapper being right about one thing. I have to say, when he's blaming the Biden White House for lying, they did lie repeatedly. He's admitting that now, and he's trying to skirt the blame because he didn't do his own work. Now he's blaming, but the damage has already been done. For a network whose slogan is facts first, and an administration who started a disinformation governance board of the United States, this is really rich. But let's get into some of the ways the media took these White House lies and ran with them. First, as you know, presidents have to undergo health checkups, and the White House physician will come out and do a workup on everything, and they put it out to the American people so that it's all out there in the name of transparency. Well, at 81 years old, in 2024, CNBC was just parroting what the White House physician said, that Biden is healthy, active, and robust. He said that, and this was Dr. Kevin O'Connor, the White House physician at the time, said that he remains physically fit enough to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. But they buried the lead. So in that CNN article, it also said, Wednesday's 6-page medical summary did not delve into Biden's mental acuity. Oh, so he's physically fit, he's robust, he's able to do the job, but they didn't do a workup on Biden's mental health and his mental acuity. Well, okay, so how do we know that he's okay to run the country? Or maybe they just didn't want to put that out to the American people. We all know why, that they would want to hide it, because if he's the candidate that they were going to run with, and at the time he was, no one would vote for someone if he wasn't ready to run the country. Certainly not with Kamala Harris as the VP, because as we know, she's the most unpopular candidate almost ever. No one wanted to vote for her when she ran for president. She only got the vice president job because she was, Jamaican, Indian, black, something. And it worked for the Democrat Party. But no one ever wanted her to be president. So if they put Biden out there and they said, hey, he's kind of iffy, he might be in a wheelchair, no one would have voted for him because no one wanted Kamala Harris as president. So when they ditched him and put Kamala Harris in there, it didn't work, obviously. And you know how it's just a matter of time before all good right-wing conspiracy theories turn into the truth? Well, add this one to the growing list. So NBC, they put out this headline talking about right-wing conspiracy theories. It says, Republicans float a quiet conspiracy theory that Biden won't be on the ballot. Hang this one in the Louvre. This is a good one. They tried to call us crazy for pointing out the inconvenient truths that they didn't want to report. Now, watch this. Jake Tapper is giving a virtual high five to the reporters who didn't lie to the American people the entire time. So let's bring up this shameless Jake Tapper response. So Jan Crawford, who works at CBS, she wrote, I remember when people worked hard to try to discredit these excellent reporters' groundbreaking reporting on Biden's decline. And now everyone agrees that they were right all along. Kudos to Annie Linksey, Siobhan Hughes, and the Wall Street Journal for never wavering. Jake Tapper quote tweets that post with a 100 emoji. 100, yeah. Props to everyone who actually did their jobs, but they were busy lying. What a shameless embarrassment. Those journalists in that post, those are the ones who should be writing a book and getting all this fame and money. But Jake Tapper is going to be the one grifting off of it. He didn't even do the work. Now, this is even more concerning because it's bad enough that the book is coming out next week, but now apparently it might be turned into a movie. So here's a New York Post headline from earlier today. Jake Tapper's bombshell book on Biden's mental health decline could be made into a movie. It says a high-stakes bidding war is brewing in Hollywood over the rights to the upcoming political expose by CNN's Jake Tapper, and Axios reporter Alex Thompson detailing the decline of Joe Biden. So now apparently CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and the William Morris Endeavor, they are representing Tapper and Thompson. They are shopping a manuscript around to producers. So not only are they grifting off of the book, but they're going to try to grift even further and make this into a movie. Who needs to watch the movie when we all lived the nightmare? And who in Hollywood could the American people trust to tell the story accurately? Nobody. They see us as dumb cash cows. Who is going to watch a documentary about Biden dropping out? It just happened this year. We just saw it. We just lived it. We don't need it. We don't need the book. We don't need the movie. We are the American people we knew all along. So please, I mean, I like I said, I'm anti-cancel culture. I'm not going to tell you to boycott anything, but I know that if you have a brain in between your ears, you're not giving these people any money. Certainly not. All right, I want to take a quick break to tell you about Blackout Coffee. You know I love Blackout Coffee, and I don't mess around when I come to coffee, so that's why I drink Blackout Coffee every morning and sometimes at night. But sometimes I've got to get a decaf version. I've got to get a decaf version so I can drink it later at night. But the flavor is so good. It is bold, it is premium coffee, and it actually delivers on flavor. And they've got a lot of flavors. I've had the blueberry cold brew. That is really good. All right? I really highly recommend. Maybe you just drink black coffee, but go be a little adventurous with the flavors because they've got really good ones. But they are a family-owned roastery right here in Florida. And they've got a roast for you, whatever you like. If you like it black, you like a flavor, you like it with a little cream, and they ship fresh to all 50 states. So wherever you are, you can get your hands on it. And because you scroll with the homies, you can get 20% off your first order. Just use code Hayley, Hayley at checkout, or hit up blackoutcoffee.com/Hayley. Grab your bag, stop drinking weak coffee, make the switch to Blackout Coffee today. That is blackoutcoffee.com/Hayley. Use code Hayley, Hayley, for 20% off your first order. All right. I like covering stories on this show and then giving you the updates. So a few weeks ago, I told you about California. They have essentially gone broke over illegal aliens. Because as you know, California, they want to give everything for free healthcare, free everything. And unfortunately, if you took Economics 101, you know that nothing is free. Actually, it's being paid for by the American taxpayer. So according to state data, roughly 1.6 million illegal immigrants are currently enrolled in Medi-Cal. And Gavin Newsom just signed a $2.8 billion bailout for a healthcare program because it's been overrun by illegal aliens. So he's trying to bail himself out. The state initially projected that the expansion of Medi-Cal for these illegal aliens would cost just under $6 billion for the fiscal year. But the costs have been far, far greater than $6 billion, if you can even imagine that. And you guys in California are picking up the bill. So Newsom's latest budget proposal said that it actually cost $8.4 million in 2024. And then in 2026 fiscal year, it's going to be $7.4 billion. So it's not going so well. Now, fast forward to earlier today, Gavin Newsom, he's flip-flopping on enrolling all of these illegal migrants in taxpayer-funded healthcare because he said it's quite expensive and they actually can't afford it, which no surprise there. But he's blaming the move now because he's saying it's too high of a price. He said the reversal was driven by high costs as well as uncertainty from the Trump administration's tariff policies. Really? How would Trump's tariffs have any impact on the fact that you were already in the hole for billions of dollars that you didn't have? You wanted to give millions of illegal aliens free health care, and you're blaming Trump? It's not Trump's fault that it's expensive. That's your dumb idea. Speaking of the illegal alien craziness, now I have a really sad update. Last July in Aurora, Colorado, there was an accident where Caitlin Weaver, she was heading home from work and a Jeep slammed into her car going double the speed limit. So the speed limit was 45 and this illegal alien teen was 15 years old. He had other kids in the car with him. They were going 90, more than 90. So more than double the speed limit. And he was charged with vehicular homicide. Now, the Jeep that was driven by the illegal aliens, of course, it was uninsured. But the teen's mom said that he took the car without her permission, so she's not responsible for the death and the accident. Weaver was on life support for 2 days before her family had to make the horrible decision that no family should have to make to take her off life support. She was a volunteer for a suicide hotline. She was just 24 years old. Her dad talked about how she just wanted to make people's lives better. She just wanted to help people. Now, the district attorney there, Amy Patton, has offered this suspect 2 years probation if he pleaded guilty. Then he has to do 100 hours of community service. So they were originally going to go with the highest offer where they would go for the maximum sentence. And the district attorney switched. And the new district attorney, this Amy Patton, she said, no, we're not going to go with the maximum sentence for this murder, this homicide. He's just going to do 100 hours of community service as long as he stays in school and doesn't break any laws. No jail time. So you could just kill people now. You could just be an illegal alien and you can kill American citizens, and you just have to do 100 hours of community service in Aurora, Colorado. Just letting you know. That's how they handle things in Aurora, Colorado. I'm going to have to look into that district attorney and maybe who's funding these elections in Aurora, Colorado, because it seems extremely sketchy. That it was just like a bait and switch. They switched the district attorney. They were going to go after the kid, and then all of a sudden it was just like, just stay in school. You know, don't break any laws. Yeah, so that's in Colorado. You just get to kill people, and it's no big deal. This reminds me of the teen who killed Austin Metcalf. He gets to graduate from college. He's bailed out of jail. Like, no consequences. There's just no consequences anymore. You're a murderous teenager, and it's okay because you're under 18. It's like, why are they not going to juvenile detention centers? It's wild to me. But some migrants are in jail. And I want to show you this photo of migrants at the Blue Bonnet Detention Center in Texas. And they're spelling out SOS here. This was back in late April. And there's an update to this, but I did notice when we were doing our pre-show, the S is backwards. They're spelling out, all these migrants are spelling out SOS in the detention center field. And they're holding up a sign. The sign says, "Help. We want to be deported. We are not terrorists," which doesn't, I guess they want to be deported. That doesn't make sense. I guess they want to go home to Venezuela. They don't want to go to the prison in El Salvador. Crazy. But there they are spelling SOS wrong. And so the media, they like to, I looked this up, like migrants SOS. And here's just some of the headlines. Migrants spell out SOS with their bodies in a Texas detention center. This is CNN. SOS, detainees send distress signal from migrant detention center. You know, they all these headlines, it's like they fear being deported. I mean, this is how the mainstream media spins this. These are Tren de Aragua gang members being held in a detention center in Texas, and they're like making them into these sympathetic characters. It's insane. So now, President Trump is asking the Supreme Court to be able to use the Alien Enemies Act again to remove these Tren de Aragua gang members from Texas. So this is all according to Joshua Johnson. He's an acting ICE director for the Dallas office. So not only are they in this detention center spelling out SOS, what they're doing is actually really dangerous on the inside of this detention center. So according to this acting ICE director in Dallas, these migrants, these Tren de Aragua gang members, they threatened to take hostages and injure facility contract staff and ICE officers. They also attempted to flood the housing unit by clogging all of the toilets. Then they refused their breakfast trays. They barricaded the front and rear entrance doors of the housing unit using their bed cots. And they covered all the surveillance cameras and blocked the housing unit windows. And like I said, they were threatening to take hostages and injure facility staff and ICE officers. So this is not just people in their detention center and they're doing their time. These aren't like the Maryland dads that the media wants to portray them as. These are gang members. They are violent, and now they are posing a threat to the people who work in these detention centers. So on May 4th, these 23 men who spelled out the SOS and were doing all this garbage on the inside of the detention center, they were moved from the Blue Bonnet Detention Center in Anson to the Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado. So the reason for this move is that because the Trump administration thinks that this might be a more favorable detention center. They might be able to, in Alvarado, they might be able to get them deported faster, maybe more favorable to the Trump administration. So the Trump administration is using these reported incidents to argue that the men shouldn't even be detained in the United States. They need to go to SCOTUS instead in El Salvador. And I think that if they're acting this way and they're posing a threat to the prison guards and the staffers there, and of course, ICE officers, they shouldn't be here. And then they have the audacity to go out in the yard and spell SOS like they don't want to be here and just deport us back home to Venezuela. Don't send us to SCOTUS. It's like you're acting like idiots inside. You're posing a threat to people. I say send them to SCOTUS now. So that's what President Trump is trying to do. Hopefully the Supreme Court rules in his favor and he's able to use the Alien Enemies Act again to deport them. So I will stay on that story for you as well. I want to move now to some updates, some very positive updates coming out of the medical industry and the medical field, just overhauls that are going to be really, really good for Americans moving forward and hopefully for children to make them more safe going forward. So RFK Jr., he is launching Operation Stork Speed to reform baby formula. The Trump administration is launching a review of the nutrient makeup of infant formula. It is the first inquiry in more than a quarter of a century. So we've just been feeding babies whatever is in infant formula, and the ingredients are a little sketchy, guys. It's a little sketchy. So the FDA is now increasing testing for contaminants and other toxins in formula, but not only formula, in other children's food. So breast milk, natural breast milk will contain living cells, stem cells, white blood cells, carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, hormones, antibodies. These things cannot be added to formula. It really can't be replicated. But in an effort to replicate the kind of energy source that babies would get from natural breast milk, they put corn syrup solids to provide energy in lactose-free products. Corn syrup solids. Formulas also include seed oils, but these manufacturers of baby formula they maintain that they need seed oils for the healthy fats for infant development. And infant development, they certainly need healthy fats, but not from corn syrup and not from seed oils. What we're finding out now is that seed oils and heavy metals are really damaging to the gut microbiome. They're very damaging to our hormone disruption. So they're now going to be testing for heavy metals and seed oils in formula and start removing the toxins from the marketplace. They're also removing oral fluoride treatment from the marketplace as well. This is it's almost like a fluoride tablet that you can take, like a lozenge that you can take if you don't have fluoride in your water. So here is FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary talking about this earlier today. Watch.
Parents should adopt good dental hygiene for their children. Toothpaste with fluoride rinses, avoiding excess sugar, but giving kid an ingestible prescription fluoride tablet, which right now it is being given to kids as young as 6 months of age, is doing damage to the microbiome. And we know altering gut health in a child can have long-term consequences. There was also a study in JAMA, our top medical journal, that summarized 74 studies on fluoride and found an association between cognitive problems like lower IQ and fluoride in the drinking water. So there's enough cause here to say, let's put the brakes on ingesting fluoride. Let's get some more scientific review. And today the FDA announced that we are planning to take action should that scientific review go in the direction that the studies are suggesting.
This is wild to me. I mean, this is why nobody trusts these medical institutions anymore. So the CDC had been recommending these ingestible tablets that could be doing harm to children. It was never approved by the FDA. Not that an FDA approval, by the way, means that it's without side effects or that it's good for you. I mean, there are things that are FDA approved that are horrible for you, but this is certainly eye-opening. And the government started putting fluoride in the water in the 60s. And these tablets have been suggested in areas that have poor drinking water. It's like, why is the government doing this to us? It's crazy that now, for the first time, so in 25 years, they're finally doing some testing on baby formula. What has happened to the babies that have been taking this formula? What is happening to all these children that are taking this fluoride treatment? The fact that, and like how many people have been impacted? Lower IQ. It's like, what is the government doing to us? And can trust in these systems ever be remedied? It seems like we're moving in the right direction, but it just makes me nervous. I mean, hopefully the next administration is a Republican one, but it just makes me a little scared for when a Democrat comes into office the next time and they just, they take their executive order pen and they undo everything that Trump did. And it's like, no, we need to make sure that we're not ingesting harmful toxins that are killing us or making us stupid. That's what the government wants. Speaking of the government, people are mad at House Republicans, but they did pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. So earlier today, the House Ways and Means Committee voted in favor of extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which would make those tax cuts permanent. Not only that, though, families and workers, they will save money now because this big, beautiful bill, it includes the lower tax rates, a larger child tax credit, tax relief for seniors, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay, and no tax on auto loan interest for American-made cars. So what we would have endured during a Biden administration or a Harris administration, it would have been a $1,700 tax hike. Now people don't have to worry about that. We might be saving $1,300 in these tax cuts, and workers will get on average $3,300 more in real income back into their pockets without their taxes taken out of their tips and their overtime. So moving in the right direction here. And I just want to note, every single Democrat on the committee, on the House Ways and Means Committee, voted against the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the big, beautiful bill. They voted against making that permanent. Because in order to pay for these things, House Republicans would make cuts to Medicaid, food stamps, things like that. So, of course, they had to go against it. But it's crazy. I mean, it's un-American to not want... I mean, seriously. America was founded on not being taxed without representation. We hate taxes. We like tax cuts. Democrats are not for the American people. They're just not. But now this goes to the Senate. So we'll see where this all shakes out, and hopefully it gets passed, the one big, beautiful bill. But the House Republicans in general, they're getting dragged on X because they haven't done much. This is like one of the first things they've done, it feels like. And House Republicans, I don't know who's running this X account, but House Republicans wrote, "We need to get Americans off the sidelines." They literally tweeted that yesterday. We need to get Americans off the sidelines. And everyone has just been dragging them. Like, name a conservative influencer. They are in the comments just absolutely dragging them. So Sean Farash, I've played his clips on the show. He is a Bongino Army stan. And Sean Farash wrote, "I can't believe someone thought posting this was a good idea. You just took a 4-day weekend right after a 2-week break. You've passed 5 pieces of legislation since January, but you want to talk about getting off the sidelines? Is this a joke?" And, more people are just upset with them. Like, do you all actually do anything other than tweet and steal our money? Trump supporters. I mean, like, it is just, people are getting dragged. So here's someone else wrote, "You are literally tweeting this after being on vacation for days, more vacation days than any single American has ever received. How about you get off your asses off the sidelines and start passing effing bills? How about that, GOP?" So not only that, they tweeted another thing. So let's pull up the second tweet. Half of the tweet was in Spanish, by the way. But the first half of the tweet that I can read was, "House Republicans believe in every American's potential to thrive by embracing the power of work." They're literally like talking about American people needing to get back to work. No, you get back to work. You work for us. You work. We're working hard and our money's not going as long as it used to. You get back to work. And then half of the tweet or the post is in Spanish. And people were also dragging them for that in the comments, saying, "English is the first language of the United States." Like, come on. We're not posting this in Spanish. Someone else said in the comments, "Guys, do you realize that almost 50% of Hispanics voted for Trump? Although we speak English, some of us like to read and speak Spanish." Boo. This is the House Republicans Twitter account. They can post in English. This is an English-speaking country, primarily. It is crazy. Someone says, "We speak English. You need to go check out the EO that Trump signed. Whoever is running this account needs to be fired." She's speaking about the executive order that would make English the official language of the United States, which it hadn't been for a while. I mean, it was like the unofficial official language, but Trump made that into law, signed that into law. So it's crazy. It's just totally crazy. But I want to see how you all feel about House Republicans in the chat. People are saying no bueno. No bueno. English. Yeah. It's just, people are, I feel like someone just said damn rhinos in Congress. Yeah. I've not been super thrilled with the House. I mean, I feel like anything that Trump has gotten done has been by executive order. And he's been doing a lot. I mean, we've made a lot of progress. And certainly on the economy and the deals that were done in Saudi Arabia, we've seen trans out of women's sports and English, the first language, our official language. I mean, I feel like a lot of these executive orders and certainly all these updates that I just mentioned on in the medical field, that this would be fun for us to go through together. So this is a flight seating chart. It's an 8-hour flight. It says pick your seat. So there are 10 seat options that you can pick on this flight. And remember, 8-hour flight. So if you pick seat 1, you have to sit next to Kamala Harris. So, this is an interesting flight setup. This is like one of those smaller regional jets where there's 2 seats on the left, 3 seats on the right. So we're going to start with the left here. Seat 1, you've got to sit next to Kamala Harris. I wouldn't be picking that. Seat 2, it is an aisle seat. You're sitting next to Nikola Tesla. Seat 3, you've got a window seat and you're sitting next to Russell Brand. Seat 4, you've got an aisle seat, but you're sitting next to President Joe Biden. Oof. Seat 5, you've got a window seat, but you're sitting next to Paris Hilton. Now we're going to move over to the 3-seaters on the right side of the plane. If you choose seat number 6, you are sitting in between Alex Jones on your left and Candace Owens on the right. That would be certainly very interesting. Now, if you choose seat number 7, you have a window seat. You are sitting next to Barron Trump in the middle and RFK Jr., he's got the aisle seat. If you pick seat number 8, you are sitting next to Hitler and Kanye West. I don't want to know what those two are chatting about, so I would not pick number 8, certainly. If you pick number 9, who is that on the left? Who is that?
It's Andrew Tate's brother, Tristan.
Oh, Tristan Tate. Okay, I didn't recognize him. Okay, so if you choose seat number 9, you're basically sitting in between the Tate brothers, Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate. I would not sit there. And then if you pick seat number 10, you've got an aisle seat. You are sitting next to President Trump in the middle seat and Britney Spears on the window seat. I don't know why President Trump will be sitting middle seat. But anyway, none of these people would be flying economy anyway. But I think I would choose... I feel like number 3, sitting next to Russell Brand would be good, but I do prefer an aisle seat, so I would have to go number 10. I would love to sit next to the President of the United States, of course. I grew up in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby. I love Britney Spears, so I think that would be fun. I think that would be very fun. I don't know what we would all talk about, but maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where would you sit?
Well, no doubt. I'm sitting in 4 because
4. You want to sit next to Joe Biden?
Well, he's asleep.
Okay.
The whole flight, he's passed out.
So you're not a talker. You don't want to yap on the plane.
No. What I want to do is look across the aisle and look at these Tate brothers and figuring out if they're leaning forward talking to Hitler or turning around and talking to Trump or hitting on Britney.
They'd be hitting on Britney.
I may just be people watching on this flight with some nice, quietness beside me because Biden is out cold.
Where do we think this flight is going? That's a good question. Maybe DC?
I'm going 6 for sure.
Okay, so Mikey's sitting in between Alex Jones and Candace Owens. Why? Just entertainment value?
Yeah, Alex Jones, you will not get tired sitting next to him. And Candace is awesome. Love her.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. The frogs are gay, and you could get all the updates on the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively case, which is, I'm enthralled in that. So,
and we'll find out if Macron's wife is actually a dude.
Exactly. Well, apparently he is a dude, according to Candace Owens. And I think you would not be bored in seat number 6. That's for sure. I feel like seat number 7 is kind of a sleeper because you would get to hear Barron Trump speak, which is very rare. That would be very cool.
If he does.
If he does speak, it'd be cool to talk to him. Someone in the chat said they're going to Hawaii. They're going to the next Fire Festival. Not Epstein Island, certainly. Okay, what are you guys choosing? Yeah, 6, 7, 10. Yeah, these are the best. 6, 7, and 10, I think, are the best. A lot of 3. Yeah, Russell Brand is cool. I wouldn't mind sitting next to Paris Hilton. Like I said, I'm a 90s baby, and she does a lot of work now advocating for children who have went through abuse, childhood sexual abuse. So I would talk to her about those efforts. I feel like she's done a lot of advocating in Congress, in front of Congress. So I think we would have a lot to talk about.
The other possibility is Biden moves back to 5 to sit beside Paris Hilton, which gives me a completely empty row at 4.
That's not real. That's not happening. You have to pick one of the ones that are there. So what did you decide, Andy?
Oh, I'm 4. Biden's asleep, and I'm looking over at the Tate brothers.
That's crazy that you're sitting next to Biden, but Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't have to talk to him. You wouldn't have to talk to him. Someone asked in the chat, who is next to number 5? That is Paris Hilton. We also had to Google Nikola Tesla. We were like, who is that? Andy thought it was Charlie Chapman. Yeah, the black and white photo kind of threw us off. But yeah, Nikola Tesla. I mean, that would be cool. That would be really cool. I'm shocked that Elon Musk isn't on this choice. I would love to sit next to Elon and like pick his brain. I feel like he's brilliant. But Tesla, certainly brilliant. I like this. I think it's fun. They're calling us dumb in the chat for having to look up Tesla. Like, okay, relax. It's far away from where we're looking. Anyway. All right, shall we play the first video that I have for you? This is a girl. She was I don't know who she supported, and she said that this was her first time voting for Donald Trump. She wasn't always a conservative, if you will, but she's seen the light. And now she is coming onto TikTok. She is talking about this new trend. A lot of people are coming on. They're talking about liberal fatigue. Listen to this.
Let's talk about this liberal fatigue, because to be frank, if you liberals have expected everybody to accept and hear your viewpoint with your bad attitude approach, I really hope that you guys are listening to these videos with an open mind and a willingness to understand. This whole like Hitler, dictator, fascist narrative, but you guys are the one going around telling everybody what we can and cannot say. And do you guys not remember how the Twitter files literally exposed how government officials were conspiring with Facebook and Instagram to suppress information around the election? Or the fact that the Department of Homeland Security literally created a disinformation ordinance board or whatever it's called. Please tell me what is a good thing about the government deciding what is misinformation. And honestly, at this point, you guys can miss all of us with the Trump is attacking his enemies argument, because literally all anyone has done to Trump since he has been in office, and the last time he has been in office, is weaponize the justice system against him.
They're waking up. They're waking up, people. She is a blue-haired former liberal who is now on TikTok stumping for Trump, calling out all the liberals and their hypocrisy. I love to see it. I love to see it. And a lot of these, she was mentioning people on the left, they call Trump Hitler, they call him a fascist. And it's crazy because what they don't understand is President Trump has been working tirelessly to take power away from the federal government and give it back down to the states. He is the worst fascist ever. He wants us to have more power than the federal government. I mean, come on. But this is actually a perfect example. I want you to play video 20. We're going to go out of order. This is exactly right, because they don't even know what fascism is. Listen to this.
We don't want Charlie Kirk on our campus. We don't want fascists on our campus. We don't want to support that here.
What is fascism? Immigration.
I don't know. I'm not like a political scientist. I'm not good at interviews. You should ask someone else.
Uh-oh. What is fascism? You're out there at a protest. Does she have a mask on? And then did she have on furry ears? Like, what was that? Did she got furries on? Furry ears? I don't know. Anyway, she's like, we don't want fascists on campus. We don't want any fascists. So she's calling Charlie Kirk a fascist. And then what is fascism? Oh, I don't know. You should ask someone else. I'm not good at interviews. Right. Does this person look smart to you? I actually don't trust anyone who would shave their head and then wear furry ears. I just don't. And then do you think that her mask is fogging up her glasses? It's just not really very smart. It's not very smart. But then here's another person on TikTok. This is a liberal who wants to, quote, fit in by wearing a red hat. Watch.
POV, you're driving through a red state and gotta blend in. Good thing literacy doesn't exist. This hat is available in the TikTok shop. If you want to get it, get it.
Can we play this again? The hat says, what does it say?
POV, you're driving through a red state.
Make Palestine free again is on this. It looks like a MAGA hat, but it says make Palestine free again. And this is a girl with a beard? Or I can never tell which way they're transitioning. Like, is this a a girl that's becoming a boy, or is it a boy becoming a girl? What is that?
A pat is when you can't tell if they're a man or a woman. And pat.
Oh, I've never heard of that. Oh, I've never heard of that.
It was a Saturday Night Live skit.
Oh, really?
And then they would always say stuff like, "For it's a jolly good person."
Oh. Well, I don't know who this they them is, but they have their other pronouns messed up, and it's making me, I'm like, so they have a Make Palestine Free Again hat on, and she's saying, or he's saying, they're saying, whatever, that they need to fit in a red state. Well, why would you need to even wear a red hat to fit in? Like, you're driving around in a red state and you want to wear a red hat that looks like a MAGA hat? Like, what do you think is going to happen to you if you don't wear a MAGA hat? I'm a conservative. I don't wear my MAGA hat everywhere. Like, I don't know. It's just weird.
I could tell that person was a liberal, though.
Obviously. Yeah, if you're a girl with a beard, you either have something seriously medically wrong with you or you're transitioning. So, anyway, we'll skip to 21. We'll go to 21. This is the last video that I have for you. It's a cat video. So here's a cat. It says, "I've never been as curious about where my cat goes at night as I am right now." And there's a big old eyelash stuck to the cat's tail. Where does the cat go? I think that your cat is probably cheating on you with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and it's getting very serious. That's my prediction. All right, that is all the time that I have left for you. Thank you for scrolling with me. All my homies in the chat, you can join them only if you watch this show live on Rumble. Rumble.com/Hayley is where you can find this show and where you can watch Evita in the morning. Rumble.com/Hayley makes it easy to find. You can search Nightly Scroll on your favorite podcast platform. And of course, you can follow me at Hayley Caronia on all platforms. In the meantime, I'll see you right back here tomorrow.